China's domestic pork production rebounded considerably in the early 2020s after African swine fever decimated the country's hog herd in 2018. As the country focuses on production efficiency through industry consolidation, future production could be challenged by changing diets. Not only will that impact China's industry, but it could also cause ripple effects around the globe. Prior to 2018, China's pork production peaked 4 years earlier at 58 million metric tons, according to China's National Statistics Bureau. However, the discovery of African swine fever in the country led to mass herd liquidation that brought pig inventories to historically low levels. And by 2020, pork production fell to 41 million metric tons. As China's pork industry emerged from ASF challenges, pork production came close to previous records in 2023 before declining again the following year. At the height of the ASF outbreak, national spot pig prices surged as high as $2.69 a pound. Meanwhile, spot prices finished out May around 90 cents a pound. China's meat consumption has been rising and has seen a 20% increase over the past 14 years. Pork has been a staple meat, but has not always been the first choice. The USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service noted that the consumers started to shift consumption away from pork. Specifically, outside of pre-prepared meals, Chinese consumers are shifting from pork to perceived healthier animal protein sources such as beef, poultry, and seafood. The percentage of pork consumption relative to total meat fell dramatically through 2020 due to ASF impacting supplies. That share recovered over the next couple of years, but was unable to regain momentum despite the rebound in domestic production. The USDA expects that trend to continue through 2025. Two other limiting factors for pork demand in China are economic struggles and population declines. China's economy has faced headwinds in 2024 as media reports highlighted high unemployment rates, restaurant closures, and a decline in restaurant spending per person. Not only are Chinese consumer diets changing, but the population itself is declining. China's population peaked at 1.412 billion in 2021 and started to decline in 2022. So what does all of that mean for the world, particularly the U.S.? Pork trade could see the most direct impact. China's pork imports have been declining over the past few years. Imports in 2025 are expected to be the lowest in more than 10 years, driven by higher domestic production and lower consumer demand. Consequently, the U.S. has been exporting less pork to China. Exports had peaked in 2020, with China accounting for more than 30% of total U.S. exports. Since then, exports to China have fallen to their lowest since 2018 last year, and China only accounts for about 15% of total exports. That hasn't stopped the U.S. from exporting record volumes of pork over the past few years, particularly due to record demand from Mexico, Japan, and South Korea. Other impacts could include the soybean industry. China's soybean imports have been on a downward trajectory during the current calendar year. Imports during January and April are off to the slowest start since 2016. China's customs data showed imports hit a record 105 million metric tons last year. China relies on whole soybean imports primarily sourced from the U.S. and South America to supply its crushing industry to produce soybean meal. Exacerbated by the Trump administration's first trade war with China, China's soybean imports from the U.S. had declined. Meanwhile, imports from Brazil had been rising substantially. While there is no strong correlation between China's annual pork production and soybean imports, if soybean imports struggle due to lower need for hog feed, lower imports could come at the expense of U.S. exports compared to Brazil. China's pork rebound faces new challenges as diets shift, the economy slows, and population declines. Those trends are reducing demand for both pork and feed, impacting global trade. U.S. pork and soybean exports to China have dropped, with Brazil gaining that market share. And while the year-to-year link between pork and soybean imports is weak, the long-term trend is clear. China's changing food landscape has the potential to reshape global markets. Thanks for watching. I'm Dawson Schmidt, and this has been a special report from Trader PhD.